Oh my gosh, what's going on? Okay,
I'm not
guys.
ready.
I know we're not emotionally ready. Hey guys,
I'm
welcome to
not.
Wingin' It, the West Wing podcast. My name is Andrea. This is my friend Sallie. Say hello, Sallie.
Hi. I'm
And
emotionally
we're
stunted right now.
we're emotionally stunted because we are recapping the season premiere of season 2 in the shadow
Dun
of
dun
two gunmen.
dun.
Oh
Ah.
my stars. I know. If you haven't
Yeah.
watched it recently, then you may not be as emotionally on edge as perhaps we are.
Yeah, we're a
But
little hyped up right now.
there's all sorts of emotions flowing every which way.
Is this a rewatcher for you, Andrea?
No,
No.
but I'm glad that I just did.
No, I'm glad that I just did, but I could not rewatch this often.
It's too much.
It's so much. There's so much emotion. There's so much emotion, but it's just part 1 of 2. There's 2 parts of it.
It's a two-parter. Oh man.
Really, if you put them all together, there's 3 episodes that are really just a lot of emotion.
It's like I'm running out. Like I don't know that I can have just regular conversation with people at the water cooler tomorrow. I feel like I'm going to be emotionally hungover.
Oh no.
Oof.
No.
Yeah, do we sing? I don't think I can be on pitch and sing. I just feel like
oh no.
There's
Well, I'm never on pitch, so there's that. But
it's a new season. We can shoot for the moon.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say we could abandon the singing, which I'm just never going to do. Mm-mm.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm ready.
Da 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 da.
Really? I'm like not happy enough to sing. I'm wounded.
I'm wounded. You're not the only one who's wounded here, Sallie, and I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about who's wounded.
No.
We don't know.
Who's been hit? Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's jump right into the opening, which even just the previously on The West Wing. Oh, no, let's talk about the intro video first.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
You read my mind.
So, yes. So, our good friend Pam, sends the best information, who we mentioned before, has mentioned to us that she wished she could find the promos that NBC used to play because they were like crazy dramatic. Well, she found one of them. Thank you, Pam. And the powers be at YouTube, because it is unreal.
It's very dramatic.
You're not going to be able to see it, but it doesn't have any clips it doesn't even have clips from season 2. It's playing season 1 clips and getting you hyped up. But the voice and the music is plenty. So I think we'll just play it right now.
Last year, the season finale of The West Wing left America stunned. And asking one question all summer. The answer will finally be revealed in a fall premiere event.
How bad can this get?
Don't miss the most compelling episode yet.
It could be like fun.
The season premiere of The West Wing, coming this fall on NBC.
God!
It's almost like funny in how dramatic it is, because it doesn't feel like what The West Wing would do. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But it
doesn't feel like a typical like soap opera drama. Like next,
it doesn't. But these episodes, like that's all true. That is how I feel. That is how I feel. Like that. It's voice.
Very intense. That was a pretty great little clip there.
Yeah. So we'll tweet it so people can look at it themselves.
Yeah. So just seeing the previously on puts me in like the right state of mind. I'm all the feels are back. I'm ready to go, emotional. I'm just a wreck. Sorkin, this is all your fault.
What are you doing to us, Sorkin?
Seriously. No, but really.
Just take the blood from my veins.
We open in the limo.
Yes.
Bartlett is talking to Ron Butterfield, which is a great name.
True.
And and Ron is being typical, like, Secret Service dude, calming him down. He's explaining everything that's happening. Bartlett's freaking out. And Ron says that he has to put the president inside the White House. Yep. Isn't that kind of strange? I would sort of think he would go to, like, a secret bunker location. Like, if they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I guess the White House is the safest place, but it seems like it would be the most obvious.
That's a good point. However, it's not any more of a target than any other day. It's kind of like when lightning strikes, too. It's like, well, if you just got shot at, chances of him getting shot at his house are less likely, maybe?
I guess so, but I'm not really worried about shooting. I'm more worried about larger scale.
Oh.
But, you know, they're the Secret Service, so they probably know. But anyway, so back to the drama. The president is, like, freaking out, and he's like, we gotta go to the hospital, blah, 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 because Ron Butterfield's hand has been shot. And I'm thinking that Ron Butterfield is a name that you have to say all together.
Yeah, you can't just call him Ron.
No. It is Butterfield, right? I'm not making that up.
No, it's definitely Butterfield.
Okay, cool. So that's happening, and then, dun, 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 the president starts bleeding from his mouth, which is
his mouth?
A good sign. Yeah.
What? Oh.
Where did you think he was bleeding from?
From his stomach.
No, it's on his face.
What?
That's where he's... Yeah. That's why he, like, checks his head.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Subtitles don't really help him seeing. No, I really thought he, like...
Yeah, there's no excuse for this one.
There's no, like, visual subtitles that could have helped me.
It is dark in the limo. I'll give you that.
It's very dark. I thought he, like, touched his abdomen or something and it was on his hands. But
no, he
clearly
sees
wrong.
It. He looks up. Yep, he looks up at the president. The president is bleeding from his mouth, and which is not a good sign because that means there's something internal. And that's when he, like, starts checking his head and, like, he, like, touses his hair. He you know, runs his fingers through his hair. He's trying to find a wound, and that's when he finds it. And then he freaks out, and he's like, GW, blue, blue, blue. That was a great impression just then, actually. You guys might have thought we were playing a clip from the show, and it wasn't a clip from the show. No. It was me.
She's just on point with the Butterfield impression.
Yep.
I'm going to give you a podcast Emmy.
So, drama.
Yeah. But it doesn't stop there. There's so much more. Okay, so it's now we're in the process of just eliminating who has been hit, who is where, right? This is like Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is everybody? I need to know now.
This is the hardest to... I think for me, it's harder to watch this episode knowing what is about to happen than the first time I watched it. Because the first time I watched it, I was sort of like, okay, something's going on, but, like, probably nothing that bad's going to happen. Everyone's going to be okay because, like, they're all series regulars. But, like, watching it now and knowing, like, Toby coming around the corner, I'm just like in the fetal position before we even find out what's going on.
Oh, gosh. Ugh, okay,
so... Yeah, I skipped ahead. So we're figuring out who's safe. We first come up on CJ.
She's not shot. So, and oh my gosh, when she says, is the president dead? I about lost it.
Right? I thought that was such a great line. Like, it was just such a great way to word that because it was like a really shocking statement. It sort of brings us back to the reality of what could be happening. Is the president dead? That was a great... That was so distraught. Obviously, Sorkin's just a genius, but, like, that was the perfect way to word that because you're like, is the president dead? Even though you just saw the president. Ooh. Yeah, she's so distraught. So, CJ's fine. Mm-hmm. And then Sam, we find out she hit her head and somebody knocked her down. Sam comes up. He tells her that the president's fine, so we're glad about that. What I like about this whole scene is that there's so much noise. There's so much chaos. There's just this feeling that, like, nothing is calm and nobody knows what's happening and it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's insane. It's super intense. And then Toby, we see talking to Charlie, so we know, like, okay, Toby's all right.
And Charlie's all right.
And we heard that Zoe was put in a car and Leo was also put in a car. And so, oh my good golly, they're all looking for I really
can't even talk about it because it's just, and it's done so well because you're just like, your heart's beating faster and you're like, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Okay, it's not CJ, it's not Sam, it's not Toby, it's not Charlie. And then you're like, oh my God!
No, it kind of haunts my dreams, the shot of realizing that Josh has been hit. Because when Toby finally goes and sees Josh, you're like, oh shoot, he's been hit. But just the fact that Josh is completely still and not talking, which is a first perhaps for him on the entire series, just the fact that he is absolutely silent and not moving, and then all of a sudden he like starts to fall over, it's like, it's bone chilling. It's bone chilling.
It is, I agree. I mean, it doesn't really haunt my dreams, but it's probably for me, it's probably the most intense dramatic moment in the whole series. And that's a big statement. Yeah. Because like a lot happens, but a lot in this series is dramatic and difficult, but it happens off camera.
Yes.
And this moment where you see Josh, because you know immediately, even though you first see him from behind, he's leaning up against a wall. He's on the ground. You know in that split second. And then when Toby sort of comes around and sees him face on, and he's holding his wound. And I hope everyone is freaking out right now just listening to this. He's holding his wound, and he has this look on his face of just like, Toby, what am I supposed to do? And then Toby's face in reaction to that is just like, oh, Josh. And then Josh falls over, and I can't do this anymore.
I wrote that too. I can't handle this.
This is when my notes start to be in all caps because I just couldn't. I literally said, I can't do this episode. I really just can't do this episode.
My name for the document I took notes in is actually #can'teven. Like, I can't handle it.
I so hate that phrase, but this is not a rewatcher for me. It's so stressful. Yeah. I love all of the flashbacks, which we'll get to in a second, but it is just gut-wrenching. It is tough.
Yeah. If you rewatch this one, you're like nerves of steel.
The best. It's tough, but in the best way possible. It's so well done.
Yeah. Whew, like a steak.
Okay, so we have that huge moment of realization. Oh, also, there's a moment before this, amidst all the chaos, where Gina is trying to like identify the dude, and she says he had on a baseball cap, and the guy's like, "What kind of cap?" And I'm like, "She just told you it was a baseball cap." There's not really. You could ask what color was the cap, but like I don't know how much more you want her to define what kind of cap it was, like. A baseball cap's a baseball cap. What kind of hat? She just told you. That sort of bugged me. And, like, really? She couldn't remember the color? Anyway.
Yeah.
I thought that was strange.
He was wearing a sombrero after him.
Yeah. Like, he was wearing a baseball hat. What kind of hat? A sombrero. Like, I just told you.
Like, yeah. It's like if there are 5 guys and they're all wearing baseball hats, but they don't know which color it was or what was on it. Like, they're really not going to identify him. Like, oh, well, we got this close, guys.
Yeah, really.
But we didn't know what the hat was.
Maybe he meant, like, what kind of hat? Was it a Yankees hat or a Red Sox hat or something like that? But, like, he could have just said what color. It was a strange interaction. I'm spending too much time on this, but I wanted to mention it. So, what I really like about this episode is that it does a good job. I mean, I like everything about it. But it does a good job of, like, balancing the chaos with, like, after this chaos and after we know Josh is hit, we, like, immediately go to the hospital, and it's almost like culture shock because everything at the hospital is completely calm. They have no idea what's going on. And we get a few minutes of that, like her complaining about her pregnant patient and, like, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, the world's on fire! What are y'all doing? But it's good. It makes for good storytelling.
Well, it raises the stakes, right? It just heightens what is about to come. So,
yeah, because the red phone rings.
The red phone, right? Station 1, go.
That's pretty intense.
It's super intense, but you have to imagine, like, the hospital's right near the White House, like that. They have protocol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you think there's just one hospital that's
set
to go? Or you think they all are?
No, yeah, I'm sure all of them are ready. And then they have to secure the hospital. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, because you have to do that so quickly, and a hospital's huge.
Yeah, this is like ER meets The West Wing, which I think we can thank John Wells for that, because he was the producer of ER, I believe.
This was filmed on the ER stage part of it.
Ooh.
Let's see. The hospital sets seen in this episode and part 2 are the same sets used in ER.
Oh, gosh.
There you go.
I love that.
So, last episode we talked about how there was a lot going on. We knew in the first 5 minutes of the finale that something bad was going to happen, but then there's this whole episode worth of like plot that was like a good distraction. I do not feel this way as strongly about this episode. I really wanted resolution of Josh.
Of course. But you know they're not going to give it to you. They never do on the first episode.
I know. I just didn't enjoy it as much here because the stakes are higher. Because we know that Josh is in critical condition. And like, yeah, like my logical side knows they're not going to kill off Bradley Whitford. But like...
But you don't know that.
It was just... Well... I mean, you don't know for sure. Yeah, okay, you don't know. But, so, I found myself more in this. The flashbacks are great. I love the flashbacks. I love all this backstory. I love these 2 episodes. But I was like, okay, this is great, and I love this. So much good backstory, but someone has to tell me something about Josh.
Yes.
I'm going to lose it. I didn't even care about Bartlett at this point. I was like, I know they're not killing Martin Sheen off, so somebody tell me about Josh.
Yes. Oh, God.
It was just, which is what they're trying to do. It's supposed to be that suspenseful, but it killed me.
Yeah. You're dead. So, you're already dead.
I'm literally dead. I can't even.
We're just...
No, I was being very sarcastic. I hope people know that. That's not a phrase I use unironically in life. Anyway, so Bartlett's full of jokes.
Yes. Yep. He's joking around with Zoe. True. And he's like, Mom's going to be pissed. Tell her not to frighten the doctors.
Yeah. Somebody asked him if he has any medical conditions, and he says he's been shot. That was pretty funny. I think that would be my answer if I were in the same place. He says something about Butterfield's hand. He's like, this guy's got about 7 broken bones in his hand if someone wants to give him an aspirin. He's literally, like, line after line is like, oh, this is all these things. He wants the doctors to tell the reporters he was brave and joking around.
Right. And then Leo comes in. Well, Zoe comes in, but then Leo comes in and they have like a Godfather moment. He like kisses him on the cheek.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that like a northern... I mean, because you referenced the Godfather. That's not something that would really happen in my experience with men in where I'm from.
Well, even with Bartlett.
I wonder if it's like an age thing, like a generational thing, and also like maybe a northern. No, I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
It was a moment. Gosh,
but it was a nice moment. I mean, it wasn't like it was unexpected for sure. But because he tells Leo everything's gonna be okay, and that was nice. Thanks, Jed. Oh, and Leo, one of my notes says, Leo tells Bartlett that everyone is fine, but they're not.
Yes,
he knows in all capital letters.
I know.
But Leo doesn't know yet either, so...
So we're all just yelling at the TV screen or whatever. Like,
yes.
Don't tell him that. That's not true. You don't know about Josh yet.
And we have a shot of Miss Landingham and Margaret. They don't know yet, so they're watching the TV. Oof.
It's like it keeps happening to you. Like, the more people that don't know and then they find out, it's like, oh my gosh, we're reliving this terrible thing.
Also, the scene between Bartlett and Leo is really great because, like, they don't really... I mean, Bartlett kisses him on the cheek and says everything's gonna be okay. But, like, nothing that they're saying is particularly sentimental, but the tones that they're using and the way they're saying these lines, it just brings in, like, the seriousness of the situation, and I just thought it was really well done. It wasn't overdone, but it was just done perfectly, I thought.
But
so
wait,
I think everything's done perfectly.
I just don't know, like, the learning curve to being president. Like, how does he know that that's what you do if that's what happens? You know what I mean? Like, he just rattled it off to Leo, like, okay, do this and this and this. Like, I'm sure he's been briefed by, you know, whoever, the FBI or...
Yeah.
I have no idea who he's briefed on in terms of protocol for this that he's had to memorize, but, like, really? He's still a first-term president. Like, I just don't know how they know what to do in situations they've never been in before.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a storyline of this episode is like that they don't really know what to do as far as the 25th Amendment goes, and this other act that like puts somebody else in charge or something like that. And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, is like if the president goes under general anesthesia for 3 hours or an hour, that somebody else has to be, like sworn in, not sworn in, but the power has to be handed over. That's an interesting thing to think about and how that would work in real life. By interesting, I mean terrifying.
Yeah. So you would be like the Danny. You would be like, "Hey, I really need an answer to this," and I'd be CJ and be like, "Hey, we're working on it."
Definitely be that person. Which big winger, not big winger. Everybody who's watched the series knows that comes into play a lot later down the line. In some some debatably great storylines, but it is. I'm glad that they do it more later in the series because it's a really interesting thing to me. So, anyway,
also interesting are the different flashbacks. But I guess one that kind of leads into the flashbacks is when they're actually bringing Josh in, and he's kind of like muttering to himself, like he's not lucid. He's having some sort of delusion. And Sam, oh my gosh, this is just like killing me. Sam's like I'm here, Josh, and he's like,
from way back in the crowd, he's the last one following. He's forever away, and he's like, Josh, I'm here. And we're just like, say.
And he like said, you came to New Hampshire, you came and got me, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh. Yes, because, and I wrote this on too, that the flashbacks, as much as I was saying like, I need to know about Josh's storyline, these flashbacks are awesome. And it's the perfect time to use them, because then we're just getting more of their backstory, so then it flashes right to real time where this tragedy's going on, and it makes it like cut that much deeper.
Yeah, now we're more invested.
Like, okay, now we know that they're all best friends and they all love each other, and this is terrible.
Yeah, as if we didn't have a whole first season full of affection for these characters. Now we know like more of where they came from, and it's just cool.
And we've had hints of like how this came to be, but watching them all come together is. But before the flashbacks, there's an interesting moment in which, and I'd like to sort of poll the fans on this one, or poll our experts, I guess, in which Abby goes in to talk to the anesthesiologist,
right?
And tells the anesthesiologist that that President Bartlett has MS,
right?
And then says, tell the press or don't tell the press. It's entirely up to you. And I've seen this debated in like the fandom before. So I thought it was definitely worth talking about.
Yeah.
Why? Here's where I need the experts. Is does an anesthesiologist not have like doctor-patient confidentiality HIPAA with the patient?
They absolutely do.
You can't just go out and tell them. I mean, he could, but he'd be out a job.
Yeah,
is what I'm imagining. So I appreciate what it does for the story. Well, no, maybe I don't, because I don't understand why she would suddenly, after all this time of hiding it, say, tell the press. Except that it's life or death, so I don't care what you do.
Well, here's the thing, is that she had to tell him, right? But she could not say, don't tell anyone. Because if she had, then that would have been them intentionally withholding things and telling him to lie, right? So she cannot say, don't tell anyone. Now, she shouldn't have needed. Fair. She shouldn't have needed to say anything, because she should have just HIPAA, not said it. That would have been a huge HIPAA violation or whatever. So, I thought it was weird too. I thought it was very strange.
Because I would like to be like, I see, because we all know that Sorkin he's not so concerned with the truth as much as getting the good story, but I don't see how this moves the story forward, because we're not just going to come out about the MS now. So, except like I said, that it's showing that it's life or death, and Abby doesn't care anymore. She just wants the best care. But like, again, it could have just not been said, because he can't tell anybody.
I do think it was because not really a spoiler alert, but the whole MS and whether or not they were covering it up or not is going to become a big storyline in this season. So I think it was just kind of a prelude to that, quite honestly.
That makes sense.
Also, it is worth mentioning that Aaron Sorkin was nominated for an Emmy for the writing of both parts of this episode, and Tommy Schlamme was nominated for directing for both parts of this episode. So,
as well, they all should have been, and all of the actors, especially Bradley Whitford, even though he just really sort of laid there. I don't care. No, he didn't just sort of lay there. He held his gut and fell over and made everyone across America, like, gasp collectively. I don't know.
Oh, and then we do have the flashbacks. I mean, we need to touch on, the different flashbacks.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote, Sam at Gage Whitney in Manhattan, and I just wrote, gosh, I love this episode. Like, it's just, I don't even know.
And Josh is with Hoynes, so Josh is with...
Right.
Who is now VP Hoynes, and we get the sense, not even the sense, it's pretty much flat out said that Josh doesn't actually believe in, he doesn't even know what Hoynes stands for.
Right.
So he's on this campaign, and he does not feel like Hoynes is the right guy. Which this whole episode is very big on sort of idealistic politics.
Yeah, very, very idealistic.
Everybody who comes on board is sort of like, is he the real deal? Is he the guy? And I love it. It's a great story, but it just, it seems idealized, I guess. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm cynical. But the show does a great job of making you want to be on board with that. Like, watching them run a campaign, I'm like, I should go volunteer for a campaign. And then I actually, read, people's stories about being on campaigns, and I'm like, oh, no, wait, this sounds really actually
You do?
miserable.
Which ones?
Never mind.
Did you read the presidential aid that you were talking about? Or what?
No, I haven't read that one. I've just read a few articles on, it's just people talking about, you need to decide if this is right for you, and it's something you have to feel super, super passionate about, because you literally get, a couple hours sleep. You will be stuck in some, random town. It's not as glamorous, really, as The West Wing makes it seem.
It doesn't look glamorous.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look glamorous, but it looks fun. It looks, they sort of make it romanticized. Oh yeah, late nights and junk food, but we're dancing around to celebration and singing and being happy. And I'm sure there are those moments, but they also don't catch that oh no, literally all you eat is junk food and you only get a couple hours sleep. Anyway, I mean, we have enough to talk about without going down that tangent, but it just is interesting that it makes you be like, yeah, I'm going to volunteer for a campaign, and I'm going to pick a candidate I really believe in, and da-da-da-da-da, and all these things. And it's just this, it's what we've talked about before, that watching The West Wing makes you, swell with pride and be like, America, bipartisanship, government, versus House of Cards,
faith
where you're
humanity.
I hate everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many things, Sally. There's so many things. So yeah, basically Josh goes to visit Sam at his big fancy law firm and basically tries to get him on board with the Hoynes campaign. And then Josh goes to see Bartlett speak for the first time in New Hampshire at Leo's prodding. And
which I also love Leo getting Josh on board first. Mm-hmm. He's because Leo has the line about or Josh says, we're dumb, but we're not that dumb, talking about, we're not going to nominate another liberal, educated, blah, blah, blah. And Leo says, no, I think we're exactly that dumb. And Leo it's just fun.
It is very fun. But the weird thing, though, is that Bartlett gives this really good performance in the little VFW whatever, and you really get to see his character in terms of his integrity and just being honest. That decision we made when I was governor, that screwed you over, and this is why I did it, and this is why it wasn't good or was good. And so we get to like Bartlett there for the reasons that we like Bartlett now. But then when he's not speaking and he's kind of just being himself and being around the rest of the staff, he's a total jerk. I did not like Bartlett as he is.
Yeah.
Or do you agree?
I agree, but I appreciate the arc of it, if that makes sense. I appreciate where the story goes a lot. Yeah. But in this moment, he's kind of a jerk. It's later it's worse in the next episode.
It is more in the next episode.
Get into yet, but it's more in the next episode. But I just love how the whole story plays out, so it doesn't bother me as much, I guess.
Yeah.
And because even not knowing how the story plays out, we know how the story plays out long term, and we know how much we love Bartlett now. So we're sort of thinking, something's up with this. I don't know what's going on with him. So we kind of know that it's going to go somewhere.
I loved seeing Toby in his flashback where he's talking, he says he's like this successful political operative, and then the lady asks him like how many campaigns or elections he's won. He's never won a single campaign. I just love pretty much anything Toby does. So it's
he's so quick-witted. The woman at first she says, "I didn't even know Bartlett was running," and he said, "Yeah, we keep that a secret pretty good."
And then he doesn't get fired like he thinks he is.
Yeah, and he's drunk because he thinks he's about to get fired.
Man, so many things. And I was thinking about this for Josh. The first episode of season 1, Josh thinks he's going to get fired. And then the first episode of season 2, Josh might be killed. It's like, heaven forbid we see what happens to Josh in season 3 if he makes it. It's like, it's a bad day. It's a bad run for Mr. Lyman.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many things. Like, I can't even...
There's so many things. I have a thing. We meet Nancy. This is when we meet her, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we meet Nancy McNally, who is, if you guys remember in the podcast, I've mentioned the story about, oh my gosh, now I can't even remember who it was about, but that somebody came out while they were filming in The West Wing. This is who I thought it was. It was Madeline Albright came out and like yelled about they were filming outside and it was making a lot of noise, and she was like, and she just said something about you need to get a
female upper level.
Yeah. She said what the show needed was a high-ranking woman at the level of, say, Secretary of State. In the next season, Sorkin had written a new character into the script, a national security advisor called Nancy. So, I like that.
And she's great. I like her.
Nancy?
Yeah.
Yes, I love her. I think she's great. One of the first things she says when she comes in, she's coming from some sort of event, and she says, "Can somebody give me some clothes? I look like an idiot." And I just liked that she was ready to be. It was sort of just a comment on how much she hates the like, oh, I have to go and like do this and that. Can't I just be professional and be this person like this? I don't know. I liked it. It was tiny, but I liked it.
Mm-hmm. You know what else was a tiny moment was Jane Lynch as a reporter.
Hey, Jane Lynch.
Cameo alert.
Maybe that's what... There's another trivia that said this episode contains the highest number of guest stars than any in the entire series, and that was pretty surprising. But maybe that's what it means. I don't know who they qualify as a guest star.
Well, a guest star, even in this, I watched the beginning part, and then I just stopped looking at the titles. But like Stockard Channing was considered a guest star on this, as was Danny. So I think it's just because everybody was like all hands on deck.
Yeah, except who's not a guest star is Donna.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Donna has gotten upgraded. I was going to say that Mandy has left.
Oh, well, yeah. Mandy's gone. Bye, Mandy. I want to talk about that because I wonder why they didn't kill her off. Maybe it's because people would have actually been happy, but it seemed like, genuinely, this isn't coming from a place of hate, but like, I just feel like anytime you can kill somebody off, maybe this is why I don't run shows.
That's but like, morbid.
people aren't expecting a series regular to die, and so if you can do it, then you get to shock people so that they don't think anyone is safe. You know what I mean?
They did that on Lost. Yeah. They did that on Lost, but not really with anybody who was important. Well, they did that too. But when they realized that the fans hated these two characters so much, they went ahead and killed them off. But
yeah, I think that's totally A-okay. It's like the idea of like when you start. I remember hearing some like director or producer when they started a job would hire a guy specifically for the purpose of like firing him in front of everyone just so they know that like no one is safe. And I think the same could be said for TV.
But here's the thing, though, is that because people didn't like Mandy, they wouldn't have cared. It would have been like, well, it would have been a non-issue. We had to have the high stakes.
I agree.
And that means Lyman hanging in the balance.
It wouldn't have been that big of a deal. It wouldn't have been that much of a shocker. And so I think that's probably why it wasn't. I just was kind of curious about it.
True.
But so anyway, that was just interesting.
I thought it was kind of strange-ish when Ginger came in to make sure that Toby was all right. Just because, we haven't had a lot with Ginger.
No! I loved that scene. That was the first time I teared up about it. Was when Ginger was kind of... I don't remember what Ginger said, but she was like, I just came in because, because she just didn't know what to do. So she just came in. And Toby hugs her. And when Toby hugs her, I'm just like, because he's so genuinely... He's not just, pacifying her. He's, genuinely yep, this is the worst thing ever. This is... I don't know. He's just so comforting and I love that whole moment. Until he hears a voice, which is not good.
Right. But then, they have this touching moment where Ginger is very upset, thinking that something could have happened to Toby. But think about it, we don't know what Ginger and Toby's relationship is like, but think about Donna. They clearly, from, I don't think her flashback's in the next episode, but we already know that Donna and Josh are more personally connected than even Ginger and Toby, right?
Right.
So it's more than halfway through the episode, and we still haven't seen Donna's reaction. And
we did. We saw Donna before we see Ginger.
Yeah, we see it right before. I'm just saying it's halfway through the episode, and we still haven't seen Donna or her reaction about Josh.
I don't think Ginger came in because she was concerned about Toby. I think she came in because she was shaken up and she didn't know what else to do. So she just wanted to come and be around everyone. I really don't think it had to do with Toby. I think she was just kind of I can't sit at home. I'm coming into work. And then Toby happened to be there. So he just gave her a hug and was comforting. Because she didn't really say anything about you can kind of see her on her face, but she wasn't oh, I'm so glad you're okay, or I was so worried. She just was I didn't know what to do. So I think it's more of that kind of thing. I think they're trying to convey that people are just in shock and that they don't know what to do.
Yeah, and they are in shock because Donna, when they tell Donna that Josh has been shot in the chest, she says, "Is it serious?"
Yeah.
And you're like, well, yes, Donna, it is. It's a little bit serious. I know you're in shock.
Before that, when it starts, Toby says Josh was hit, and Donna pauses for a long time and says, "Hit with what?" That was even bigger to me than is it serious, because hit with what? I mean, she's just genuinely in shock.
Yeah.
And according to the DVD commentary, another trivia fact, according to the DVD commentary, Richard Schiff said that instead of, or I don't know who said it, but it's mentioned in the commentary that when shooting this scene, Richard Schiff, instead of using the line in the script, told Janelle that Bradley Whitford died. He said, instead of Josh was hit, he said Bradley Whitford died, and that prompted her absolutely devastated expression. Which is really intense, but also surely she would know that's not true. But maybe he was just helping her, give her motivation.
Exactly. That is a generous scene partner, and that is why Richard Schiff is a genius, and I love him.
Oh wait, speaking of him being a genius, have we talked about his wedding ring yet?
No.
Okay, so people have mentioned this, and it doesn't go with this episode exactly, but I want to mention it before we forget. We talked about how he was wearing his wedding ring when we saw him with Andy, and apparently he wore it in the first episode, or in the first few episodes, and Aaron Sorkin was like, hey, Richard, Toby's not married. And Toby was like, yeah, or Richard was like, yeah, I know, and he's like, so why are you wearing this wedding ring? And apparently Richard Schiff said, I'm waiting for you to tell me. And, added that whole layer of Toby, and
what?
That I just think that yep, heard that from two sources. So
that is so interesting. Gosh, we really need
Richard
to get
Schiff
him on here.
Yeah. there's still so much more to talk about. We haven't talked about the fact that the press wants to know why Bartlett is entering and exiting without a canopy.
Yeah.
Which, I guess, it's hard to talk about some of this stuff because we don't get resolution until the next episode. But it's sort of an ongoing thing that that it's an issue that the president hasn't entered. Like, if he had had a canopy, this wouldn't have happened or whatever. And we kind of get the feeling that it has something to do with Toby because CJ asks about it. So
I was thoroughly confused, but also more thoroughly confused because have people ever seen canopies? They can't even, they can't protect you from rain. What are they going to do with gunshots? I'm just saying.
Well, they wouldn't be able to see him as well.
I don't know.
Like, if he were under the canopy, they would only be able to see him for a couple feet as he gets in the car. So that's mostly it.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. There's just too much. Oh, okay. How about Leo and Bartlett talking after Leo fires everybody?
Yes.
And he's talking to Bartlett about, he gives a whole speech about, he says, I'm tired of having to pick between the lesser of who cares, and he's sick of year after year how everything goes, and that's why he wants Bartlett there. And he says this really quotable quote about act as if ye have faith and faith shall be given to you. Put another way, fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. I know that's a favorite of West Wingers, and I like that a lot. I like Leo firing Bartlett up. I just like all of that. So
getting the team together, putting the band together.
They are indeed, and there's only more to come.
There's so much more to come in the next episode. The second half of this one.
There's just too much.
In the Shadow of Two Gunmen Part 2.
Yeah, so we leave off this episode with like a montage of everyone. Everyone's like in their offices and like in different places, and there's like playing over them or like clips from the press talking about how serious everything is. And that's the note that like we leave on. Donna and Miss Landingham are sitting in the waiting room. It's just So
yeah. Well, we'll find out what happens. I mean, I would imagine that people listen through to the next one or watch through the next one as we have. But that's where they leave us. So that's where we're leaving you.
Yep. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
All right. So that's it. We'll see you next time. Well,
bye.
We won't. We'll talk to you next time.
We'll talk at you, with you, around you. I don't know.
Bye.
Bye.